White man, the fuck? Get the fuck out and over there. I'm a servant of the Most High God, and I share the love of Jesus, man. There's hate in your heart. Ask God that He can take it out. Jesus, I went to church last night, honey. I have a Bible hall. I read. Listen. I pray every night. Do you pray every night? I don't think so. Yes. Do you, confess? Yes. Do you go to hell? No, you don't. I read my Bible. I pray. You know why? Because I love Jesus. I do too. And so I need you to tell me what the fuck I need to do with Jesus. So shut the fuck up. See, that's a nasty mouth, man. Why you gotta swear like that? Because the Bible says you shouldn't swear. Listen, I love you, man. I love you, man. No, why you got cuss like that? We not to cuss. Hey, I got a hat for you. The MAGA hat right here. Look,
Why did you force me to look at him?
Sorry, guys. Is this a better connection?
Yeah, in the right way. You're doing Genesis part 5.
Good. So anyway, let's go take a look at the wall. I think maybe folks missed that. So this part of the Imperial Fence has been blocking the protester area for since June. My DC source wanted me to be sure to tell everyone that they've had the Imperial Fence since before it was cool. I thought that this was a really good representation of the difference between DC tactics and Portland tactics. When they had the wall put up, there was no attempt to take it down. They just kind of decorated it. The second our fence went up, we did everything we could to tear it down. You put up any kind of fence in Portland, we are going to take it down. And, as even when I posted it last night, people were immediately like, oh my God, take it down. This is how you take it down, just so you know, DC. And, the contact from DC said, why the fuck would we want to take this fence down? It keeps Trump in. And I feel like that is just like the perfect representation of the difference between DC protesters and Portland protesters. And I told my contact, we play Rage Against the Machine all the time. And just like the lyric, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me, is just perfect Portland. And about how when the LRAD comes out, a lot of Portlanders are just like, fuck you, you're not my dad. And she thought that was just like peak Portland. That is just exactly how Portland is as protesters. Well, I mean, you got to remember that every cop technically has live rounds on them all the time. But yeah, you're exactly right. On the other side of the fence, there's Secret Service. My Venmo, go ahead and check my Twitter page. I don't ask for funds often as white press. I do encourage you to give it to press of color, but that's very kind of you. I just don't have it memorized because, again, that's not something I ask for often. But I certainly appreciate tips. Just make sure that you're giving it to people of color first. So anyway, this is where most of the DC protests have been taking place. I think a lot of people feel like if you're not voting along party lines, then you're throwing away a vote. That's how the conversation generally goes. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with that, but that's the rhetoric I generally hear. So, like I said, there's a lot of religion here today. That was a thing I didn't expect. But separation of church and state is not a thing we're great at. If you asked me if I thought there would be Christian flag dancing today, I would have said no. But here we are. So, I mean, in terms of asking when the rioting starts, I think that's kind of a misnomer. My understanding is that the protesting in DC is largely civil disobedience, that they mostly just block roads. They're not ones to smash windows, to loot, to do things that people would consider rioting. They're not setting cop cars on fire. They're not. You look adequately prepared. I will see you later. Just saw a comrade with a helmet and a gas mask. They're not ones to do anything like that I have seen in great amounts. There are definitely Black people that die at the hands of particularly MPD. However, I have not seen a ton of what you could characterize as rioting here, even by a conservative definition. So I'm going to take you back really quick to kind of like the back of the Black Lives Matter protesting area so that I can show you where MPD gears up. I don't need to be anything. I can be whatever you consider to be polite or anything. I'm not here for you. Okay, so this is not a police station, but it is where MPD gears up and heads out. If one were to scout this location, bye-bye. One would be able to see them gearing up in riot gear or loading into their vans. The riot vans, they actually don't hang off of the outside. a load in. They're just passenger vans. So there are multiple kinds of police in the area. There are, wow, from Belgium? There are multiple kinds of police in DC. I saw National Guard earlier. I saw Secret Service, but my understanding is that you really have to fuck around and find out with Secret Service. Like, you have to enter the White House compound to deal with Secret Service. I had Secret Service look at me earlier in the day, and they looked at me like I was a full human. I haven't had a cop look at me like I was a full human in a real long time. Oh, yeah. Okay, so... yeah. So, all of downtown DC looks like this. Not like that. Like this. It's boarded to shit. Nothing is open. I had to look real hard for somewhere to get lunch and for coffee this morning. Yeah, it's yeah, it's interesting too, because like I said, my sources here in DC are saying, like, yeah, this isn't a rioting city. Yeah, I'll show you the sacred fence again. You tuned in a little late, but I'm coming back around and I will show you the sacred fence. So, the source that I was talking to felt like maybe the police told business owners that the boarding was necessary because they've all decided to do it en masse. And protesters are kind of like, yeah, even if Trump wins, we're not about to totally fuck everything up. That's really not what we do. They're all a little confused by the move. I haven't heard about the FBI reports of robocalls, but I will ask someone that knows. It wouldn't surprise me. Alrighty, here's some sacred fence. Yeah, I mean, that's probably a huge part of it, is that DC has a really high population of Black people. And if you start hitting businesses in DC, there's a really good chance that they're Black owned. And that would be super shitty. Thank you. Yeah, I think a lot of the major cities are boarded up. I don't think that, I know DC is not the only one. I know Portland is boarded up to shit too. I know that I'm probably gonna come back to Black Lives Matter Plaza probably around 5. I've got some scouts. Yeah, the red shoes are back. I brought my dogs in case it was gonna rain. It's not gonna rain. And especially since this isn't a block culture city, I'm just kind of like, oh, okay. Alrighty. So, part of the reason I think also that the fencing is up is to protect the massive amount of statues. Because, like, we know how Trump is about statues. He's bananas about statues. Like, that's part of what Patriot Valor was about, was protecting statues. And DC has only had 2 statues trip and fall. There is not an elk. I think they might have only had 1 successful statue trip and fall. I think one was attempted and didn't work. All right, so here we have the industrial fence that we all know. We have the cement block on one side, not on both sides. You think they would have learned that you need it on both. Trump will definitely want his own statue. That's like, that shit's coming. So you can see there's 2 rows of imperial fence. And then there's that giant white wall around the White House that we've all seen online. And I tried to see if you could like get to the white wall around the White House. I was like, there has to be an angle in which one can like get to the White House, and there's not. Don't insult me. I'm not a liberal. I'm a leftist. I'm an eco-anarchist.
A British slave trader named John Newton. He was an evil, wicked man, a slave trader, and he was on the ship. He thought they were going to drown in a storm, and he fell down on his face and cried out, "Oh God, save me!" And God saved John Newton. Hallelujah! And turned him into a man of love, and he helped William Wilberforce to end the slave trade in Great Britain. And he wrote
I thought for
Amazing
press
Grace,
there might be,
how
yeah.
sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Praise God. And so I just have from you to share the gospel, the good news. The word gospel means good news. And we live in crazy times. We need good news, don't we? Everybody needs, whatever your political affiliation may be. Thursday, we need good news. And the word gospel means good news. And God, as Jesus said,
I take pride in not knowing how to behave, I guess.
I have English and Espanol and Mandarin and Arabic. I think I have one in my bag.
Protest pup. Anarchists don't behave. They make decisions on their own if something is a good idea. Yeah, right? Wasn't that weird? Ooh, that's eerie.
Yeah. I mean, it's big.
All right, folks. This is our quick look for right now. I'll be back in a couple of hours for the real deal. Remember, for those watching from Portland, that we are 3 hours ahead So it's going to feel early for y'all. But on the bright side, it won't conflict from watching Portland coverage. See y'all soon.